Administrator Dixon, at our last MAX hearing in this committee last October, Boeing admitted that MCAS did not meet its own design requirements. I think we have a slide that's going to come up now. This is taken from Boeing's coordination sheet, which outlined the company's requirements for MCAS. As you can see, Boeing's criteria stated, quote, MCAS shall not interfere with dive recovery, unquote. It also stated, quote, MCAS shall not have any objectionable interaction with the piloting of the airplane, unquote. When I showed this to Boeing at our last hearing, Boeing's chief engineer admitted the obvious, that MCAS interfered with dive recovery on both Lion Air Flight 610 and Ethiopian Air Flight number 302. Administrator Dixon, do you agree with that assessment?
Based on what I know about how the system was initially designed and how the design was changed, I think that's correct.
Unfortunately, when asked another obvious question on whether MCAS had an objectionable interaction with the piloting of the accident flights, Boeing did not give a straight answer. In plain and simple terms, Boeing failed to admit that the MCAS impacted the ability of the pilots to control the plane. That's shameful. How can anyone look at what happened in the cockpit of those flights and think the pilots had any chance to counter a system that they knew nothing about? This coordination sheet that you have on the screen today is dated June 11th, 2018, which is after the MAX was certified. But we have seen earlier versions of the same document from March 2016, before the MAX was certified, and it contains the exact same MCAS design requirements. Administrator Dixon, did the FAA receive a copy of this coordination sheet before the MAX was certified?
I'm not aware of, that we would have, and I believe that's around the time when the design was modified, but I would have to check.
Should the FAA have received this document?
I would say so. Earl, have you got any opinion on that?
Well, this document is outlining what our requirements are on Boeing. And so these are the regulatory requirements, and this outlines what the requirements would be to obtain certification.
Thank you. Administrator Dixon, did MCAS interfere with dive recovery on Lion Air Flight 602 or Ethiopian Air Flight 302?
Yes, it did. I would just point out again that there is, the pilot, again, is part of that system, and the design was relying on the pilot to be the mitigating factor, and that proved to be incorrect.
Boeing failed to meet its own design requirements for a system that was certified by the FAA. Despite this shocking reality, has the FAA issued any fines or penalized Boeing for that failure at this time?
Not at this time, but I reserve the right, as I said earlier, to take action in the future.
Beyond the design requirements, has the FAA issued any fines to Boeing for its failures on the 737 MAX?
Not at this point.
And my final question, since these tragic accidents, has the FAA made any changes to how it certifies software design requirements, certifies other manufacturer aircraft components, or do any part of the certification process?
Yes, as I mentioned, we have not delegated anything throughout this process. We are relying on resources throughout the agency. We have brought in the Technical Advisory Board to run in parallel with us with experts from NASA and Volpe and the Air Force and others. And we're also working very closely with the international authorities as well.
So you're working on those, but as of yet, no specific changes?
Well, yes, those changes are being implemented for the MAX project, absolutely.
Administrator Dixon, for me and for so many Americans, these tragic accidents have shaken our confidence in the FAA. And we owe it to the families who lost loved ones to do better, and we must get this right. Anything else would be a disservice to them and to all those who put their faith in the safety of our air system. I yield back.
Thank you.